for the invitation, which will be given by Chris Barker, our Assistant City Manager, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Councilmember Linda Martin.
Please bow your head and join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we come to you tonight grateful for the opportunity to gather here together. We ask that you would guide and direct the council as they deliberate the business of the city. Give them wisdom, Lord, as they make decisions that will shape our community and provide leadership and direction. Please bless all those who have given selfishly of their time to be in attendance here tonight. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please pray and pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I got two men waiting on me in that night. All right. The next item on our agenda tonight is to present our employee for the month of May. If Larry Cook will come forward and Ray McDonald will come forward. We have a nice presentation. We learn all about Larry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Hello? I'll just talk about it. Go ahead. Well, it's my honor to introduce you all to Larry Cook and Chris Ames, our general manager of the softball world. Larry reports to Chris out of the softball world, but I first want to start by congratulating Larry. Not only is he the recipient of the Employee of the Month, but he's evidently signed a new shoe deal in conjunction with that. His 40 time has increased, or actually decreased now by 0.3 of a second. I'm proud of that. Larry is another great success of the Euless Parks Department. He started in 1997 as a part-time employee in the Parks Department and worked his way into a full-time job and has done a lot of different things in the Parks Department. But I tell you, one of the things that I will always be appreciative of and admire Larry for is that when we, the city, decided to acquire Softball World a number of years ago, and we made some changes along the way, basically starting over. And these two guys were the two guys that were seriously handpicked to lead that operation. And it's a big job. I was just sitting over here a minute ago trying to figure out on a yearly basis how many games are played at Softball World, and it is well over 4,000 games played in a year. Over 10,000 games. Even more of a dramatical effect. This guy's almost a one-man show. He does have a crew of part-time employees that help him out, but more or less, Larry is the guy that gets the fields ready for all those games that are played at Softball. He leads a great crew, and Larry actually volunteered to transfer from the Parks Department to Softball World to do that job. He knew what he was getting himself into when he went over there, and he has stayed this long. And we're very appreciative of you, Larry. He was recognized by his peers. Larry is very well respected by everybody in the Parks Department. He's the guy that if you have a question about anything that's going on or why things are the way they are, or hey, you know, I need a little advice, whether it's work related or even in your personal life, a lot of the guys go to Larry. He's been here a while. He knows how things work, and he always lends an ear, lends support. He's the kind of guy that if you called him at 3 o'clock in the morning, which we have, and said, Larry, we need something out of Softball World, he'll be there in a matter of minutes. We lean on Larry a lot, and obviously he always comes through, and that's why he has been selected as the Employee of the Month. Larry, thank you so much. Any day beyond this that we are allowed to work with you is an honor. Thank you.
This is a little gift from you, and here's a little appreciation signed by the city manager. then you get to have your picture hanging in your department for the next month. Okay? And then you have to go and shake everybody's hands. Before you do that, would you step back so we can all see your shoes? Congratulations again, Larry, and come back and see us. The next item on our agenda is a proclamation, which is going to be presented by Glenn Porterfield to Ray McDonald, if you'll come forward again. Proclaiming April the 25th, 2014 is Arbor Day.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye! The Lord High Mayor of the great city of Euless, Texas, has issued a proclamation. Whereas, in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees give a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of businesses, areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas the city of Euless has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation, and desires to continue its tree planting practices, now therefore, I, Mary Libsala, Mayor of the City of Euless, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 2014 as Arbor Day in the City of Euless, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees, to gladden the heart, and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Thank you, Ken, for coming forward to us. We needed a little of that. Thank you. The next item on our agenda tonight is another proclamation, and this is a proclamation proclaiming May as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. Now, if Mr. Jeff Wills, Jeffy Van Tress, and Derek Clark here, you come forward. I have a proclamation for you, and it's not going to be quite as elaborate as that. Okay. Whereas today's society is finding more citizens involved in motorcycling on the roads of our country. and motorcyclists are grossly unprotected and much more likely to be injured or killed in a crash than other vehicle drivers. And whereas campaigns have helped inform riders and motorcyclists alike on the motorcycle safety and their issues to reduce motorcycle-related injuries and most all fatalities through a comprehensive approach to motorcycle safety. And whereas it is the responsibility of all who put themselves behind the wheel to become aware of motorcycles, regarding them with the same respect as any other vehicle traveling the highways of this country. And it is the responsibility of the riders and the motorists alike to obey all traffic laws and safety rules. And whereas urging all citizens of our community to become aware of the inherent danger involved in operating a motorcycle, and for riders and motorists alike to give each other mutual respect that they deserve. And therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Euless, does hereby proclaim the month of May as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness. Thank you for coming to the City Council this year. You may have a couple of words.
Thank you. City of Euless Mayor, Council, I appreciate again, this is the 5th year that we have been presented with this proclamation from the City of Euless. We take this extremely personal, and we take this as a responsibility, one of the responsibilities of our motorcycle club, to make motorcycle safety and awareness an issue within the communities of Northeast Tarrant County. I have attended the council meetings of every city council in Northeast Tarrant County over the last 5-6 years to help promote this cause. And I'll give you a couple of perfect examples. We were riding here tonight down Harwood Road to avoid the traffic on 183. The girl who was in the car next to us was playing with her phone and texting the whole time. She was driving down Harwood Road, and she had her baby in the back seat with her. We had another car that ran halfway through a red light, stopped in the middle of the intersection. He also had his phone in his hand. We deal with this every day. You deal with this every day. We're unprotected. We need you to talk to your children, to talk to your friends. We've lost brothers, we've lost friends. We've been on motorcycles when unattended drivers have been out there. This has to stop. Please. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and attending this meeting too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item on our agenda is the presentation of the quarterly financial report for the period ending March 31st, 2017. Ms. Jewell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In addition to the monthly financial reports that we provide the City Council during pre-council meetings, we would like to provide our citizens with a financial report at least quarterly in the City Council meeting. Tonight's report will summarize the financial activity for the first half of fiscal year 2014, which ended on March 31st. The consolidated fund balance summary reflects the 5 different fund types used by the city. The most basic fund type is governmental and operating and debt service funds. Resources allocated to these funds are used to pay for basic governmental services, including parks, recreation, library services, street maintenance, and police and fire protection. The major revenue sources for these operations include property taxes, sales taxes, franchise fees, court revenues, car rental taxes, occupancy taxes, and grant revenues. As you can see on this chart, at the end of March, the fund balance of the general fund and the debt service funds have increased, which is attributed mainly to the collection of property taxes. You will also notice an increase in EDC and CCPD funds due to the strength in sales tax collections. In the car rental fund, you will see here that you will notice a decline in fund balance due to funding of capital projects and other budgetary allocations made from these funds at the beginning of the new fiscal year and timing of receipts towards the end of the year. The proprietary operating and debt service funds are used to account for business type operations that are generally self-supporting through user charges. These include the water and wastewater fund, the drainage fund, and many of our recreational funds such as Texas Star Golf Course and the Texas Star Sports Complex. In the proprietary funds, the water and wastewater fund decreased year-to-date due to the funding of capital projects, reduction in consumption, and the normal cycle of the year. A few other funds have also had decreased fund balances year-to-date due to weather conditions and debt service payments. A few of the other proprietary funds saw an increase in fund balance, including Texas Star Sports Complex, as we'll detail out in a few moments. Internal service funds are used to collect fees from user departments, which are then allocated to replace items such as the city's fleet and provide employee health insurance and risk services. As you can see, the risk management fund decreased due to our annual payment to Texas Municipal League for property, liability, and workers' comp insurance, and the equipment replacement fund has already been making approved purchases in this year's budget. On the other hand, the health insurance fund has a lag between times that claims are incurred and submitted for payment, and therefore expenditures in the general fund generally lag about 45 days from the date of time of service. Fiduciary funds are used to account for assets that the city is holding in trust for the benefit of others, and that's what the Star Center escrow fund is. The summary is provided to show a change in fund balance from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I will discuss most of the funds in greater detail in a moment, but overall we started this year with $40.5 million, and after the first half of the year, combined fund balances of $45.7 million in the operating funds. We also maintain capital project funds to account for the resources and expenditures related to major infrastructure projects. The capital project fund balance ended the quarter at $18.1 million, which is an increase of approximately $3.8 million due to the funding of 2014 capital projects as well as an escrow payment. Funding on these projects carries over from year to year until projects are totally completed. As construction on these major projects continue, we can expect this fund balance to decline through the rest of the year. The consolidated statement of revenues and expenditures provide for more detailed revenues of the city's revenues and expenditures by type and provides comparisons to adopted and prior year budgets. Looking at the consolidated statement of revenues and expenditures, many of our large sources of revenues are meeting or exceeding prior year collections and current year budget expectations. This includes property taxes, sales taxes, gross receipts, and municipal court collections. Charges for services remain below budget and prior year levels, most likely due to what we had discussed earlier, the conservation measures, as well as cold weather. As of the end of March, operating revenues were $2 million higher than prior year and $197,000 more than budgeted expectations year to date. Overall, operating expenditures at the end of March total $45.9 million, which is under budgeted expectations year to date by 6% or $3 million. The majority of the underspending at this point is coming from savings and capital expenses. In addition to our consolidated review, we also provide you a brief overview of our largest funds, beginning with the general fund. The graph above shows at the beginning, the graph above shows that the majority of the general fund revenue comes from sales tax and property taxes. At the end of March, the general fund has collected revenues of $21.6 million, or 64% of our expectations. Property taxes are strong through March. This is above prior year totals as well as budgeted forecast year to date. Sales tax collections have been very strong year to date. This continues to contribute to our fiscal year to date sales tax collections, exceeding both prior year levels and our budgeted expectations. Municipal court revenues vary month to month based on case volume and timing of payments. Fiscal year to date are currently above prior year levels as well as budgeted expectations. Development revenues also vary on a month-to-month basis. And fiscal year to date, this revenue is higher than our budgeted expectations, but lower than prior year to date. The general fund expenditures through March are at $16.3 million, or almost 45% of budget. And the car rental fund has seen an increase in revenues, which compared to prior years compared to March. And fiscal year to date, the revenue source is exceeding both prior year as well as budget expectations. Year to date, this revenue source is still up 4%. Within the proprietary funds, the largest fund is the water and wastewater fund. Fiscal year to date collections are at $8.7 million, which represents 42% of expectations. Our expenditures through the end of March are less than prior year with expenditures totaling $9.3 million or 44% of the appropriated budget. As of March 31st, Texas Star is 2,100 rounds below budget, again due to the cold weather earlier this year. Revenues per round are above budget as well as prior year. The decline in the number of rounds has resulted in an overall shortfall in golf revenues of $83,000 when combined with the food and beverage revenues, however, the $74,000. The shortfall in revenue is only $9,000 when looking at budget year to date. Operating expenses through the end of March were kept below budget by $35,000, leaving this facility with a net operating gain of $196,000. Year-to-date revenues at Texas Star Sports Complex, which encompass both Softball World and the Parks at Texas Star, exceed budget expectations by $26,000, and expenses at the complex were over budget by $8,000. This does leave the facility with an operating gain of $152,000 or $18,000 better than budgeted expectations. And that's all for this morning.
Thank you, Janina. Council, do you have any questions? Not? Thank you for the good report. Next items on our agenda are our consent agenda items. And as I read these out in the schedule, our deputy city manager will explain each one of them. Item number 5 is to consider award of bid number 6-14 for miscellaneous golf course improvements at the Texas Star Golf Course.
Mayor and council, staff is recommending that you approve award of bid 006-14 for a construction contract to Fleetwood Services. This bid includes the labor that would be necessary to complete the planned golf course renovation this summer. It includes renovation of the sand bunkers, improvements to water features at hole number 16, the expansion and leveling of tee boxes, and regrassing of all the disturbed areas. We received 4 bids, and Fleetwood Service submitted the lowest bid at $235,788, which is within the budget.
Thank you. Item number 6 is to consider resolution 14-1430, adopting an updated water conservation plan for the city of Euless.
Mayor, state law requires public utilities that provide potable water to submit a water conservation plan to the Texas Water Development Board and to update the plan every 5 years. This plan will also be forwarded to the Region C Water Planning Group that represents North Central Texas counties in projecting water needs and developing scenarios to meet future water needs.
Item number 7 is to consider authorizing the purchase of asphalt paving services from Reynolds Asphalt and Construction Company through an interlocal purchasing agreement with the city of Grand Prairie.
Mayor, the staff would use this contract to perform annual asphalt overlays and road repair projects. The cost will be based on actual quantities ordered on an as-needed basis.
Thank you. Item number 8 is to consider authorizing the purchase of a security control system, upgrading and replacing various existing system components at the Euless Police, Jail, and Municipal Court facility.
Yes, Mayor, the current system has reached end of life, and the upgrade will ensure the continued secure operation of the police court and jail facility. The cost is estimated at $149,480, and that is within the budget.
Thank you. Just for the audience participation, our jail is now 13 years old. We thought we just built it yesterday. Item number 9 is to consider approval of the city council minutes. So council items number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 of the consent agenda. What is your pleasure?
I'll move approval. I'll second. All fair.
Motion is made by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg and seconded by Councilperson Spiniford. Is there further discussion? If not, cast your vote. The consent agenda has been approved. Item number 10 is to hold a public hearing and consider resolution number 14-1431, adopting a revision update to the Euless Park, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor.
The purpose of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan is to provide guidance and direction to the City of Euless Council, Parks and Leisure Services Board, and city staff for future and present outdoor and indoor park and recreation planning decisions. This update will cover a 5-year period and was prepared to conform with the goals of the City of Euless as well as those of the Texas Recreation and Parking Council. If approved, the plan will be forwarded to the Texas Parks and Wildlife for their review and will serve as a valuable tool in future grant requests. We ask for your acceptance tonight.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald.
Yes, ma'am.
We are in a public hearing, and at this time I'll ask, do we have any proponents for this resolution 14-14-31? If not, do we have any opponents to this resolution? If not, I'll close the public hearing and I'll ask council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Councilperson Allenfeld and seconded by Councilperson Bynum to approve the resolution 14-14-31. Any further comment?
Yes, Mayor, if you don't mind. Commissioner McDonald?
Yes, sir.
I just want to applaud you and the Parks Board for the work y'all did. You know how important this plan is to me personally. I think that our parks are what make us special in the city of Euless, among other things. But this continuation of our park system, I really believe that's our future. And it's very important for us to have new parks and new opportunities to have additional park space. So I just want to applaud you and the Parks Board for moving forward with this plan.
Thank you.
Further speaking? Okay. Cast your votes in. Item number 14-14-31. 7 is to consider a request for a temporary use permit 14-14 CC for the Pride of Texas Music Festival. What is your pleasure? Good evening. Well, he's going to talk about it, okay?
May we provide an explanation?
By all means, tell us what it's all about, Mr. Collins. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As the mayor indicated, the Pride of Texas Music Festival is partnering with the ITS Pizza and Entertainment to put on a camp, if you will, for a 4-day period of time that would begin on Tuesday, May the 6th through Friday, May the 9th. The location of ITS, as many of you may know, is located on the south side of Airport Freeway on the west side of FM 157. What the Texas Music Festival would propose to do is to erect a tent that would be 40 by 80 in size, and that would be the location in which they would house musicians, orchestras from the elementary, junior high, and high school that would be part of a rotation of bands that would be playing in this tent between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. They have partnered with ITS that while they're not playing, they can enjoy the entertainment and food that ITS would provide. They can stay within the building itself of ITS, exiting the ITS building to the south in order to gain access to the portion of the parking lot area there to the south and west where the tent would be located, where they would play. Erica Crosley is the representative with the Pride of Texas Music Festival, and she is here in the audience and would be available to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Would you like to add to this?
You did great.
Thank you. All right. Council, do you have any questions? If not, then what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you. Mayor, I'll second. Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Staniford and seconded by Councilperson Allenfeld to approve the request for a temporary use permit for the Pride of Texas Music Festival. Further comment? If not, cast your votes. It has been approved, the temporary use permit has been approved, so I guess we can hear music all day long. Right?
If you'd like to come by, please do.
Thank
But
you.
it's close to the public, we have an exclusive with it, so there's no public allowed, because it is dealing with children.
Okay.
Parents are allowed to be there, but they know when their kids are performing. So like I said, it's close to the public, but if y'all like to come by, just let me know.
So we're public and we can come by, but we're
No,
not
you're
allowed.
private, because
Okay.
if you contact me, I'll let you in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good luck with it. Hopefully we'll have good weather, so it'll be.
Oh, I do hope so. That'd be bad if it didn't.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 12 is to hold a public hearing for a specific use permit 1403, specific use permit, and then to consider the first and final ordinance of 2027. This time, Mr. Collins, would you explain this, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. The applicant is David Busters. They are represented this evening by Lisa Warren and Jill Malakovic. As part of my presentation, we've kind of tag teamed with the David Busters representative. So if it's all right with you, Mayor, at the conclusion of my presentation, we've got theirs queued up and they would be prepared to go ahead and continue the presentation after mine.
While we're still in a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The location of the proposed Dave & Buster's would be the Glade Parks development. We are on the west side of 121, south of Glade Road, south of the Super Target. Current existing development that's occurred within Glade Parks that you might be familiar with is Rose's Cafe, as well as, I just went right down, Grace and Kane. Thank you very much, Mr. Kane. Dave & Buster's would be proposing to construct a 40,000 square foot facility. The specific use permit that y'all would be asked to consider this evening would provide entitlement for the particular use within the zoning district. The Dave & Buster's establishment would be characterized as a arcade sales. Second, they would also include food and beverage sales. Because of the manner in which the Glade Parks PD was put together, this type of arcade or amusement needs to be considered as a specific use permit. Further, there is additional language in the ordinance that would establish that arcade machines may not take up more than 5% of the total square footage of the establishment. The Dave & Buster's arcade portion of the facility would comprise just less than half of the total square footage of the building. So, based on the company's strong and proven business model as well as its professional management practices, staff is recommending that the condition of the specific use permit allow the arcade as proposed, where a full service restaurant is permanently operated with the arcade. If the entitlement is granted by the action of the City Council, there will be subsequent to this meeting consideration of a site plan that we would estimate could go before the Planning and Zoning Commission at its first meeting in May and the second meeting in the City Council. Second meeting in May, rather, the City Council would be asked to consider the site plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on April the 1st, 2014 on this case, and they have recommended approval of this specific use permit with the conditions that are identified in your agenda communication that would include that it be tied to the business owner, to the business name, Dave & Buster's, that the condition placed by reference of this section 8485 regarding the maximum square footage of the arcade be suspended, dependent on a full-service restaurant being permanently operated, that the games contained within the facility may not be of a gambling or video poker variety, and that if any one of these conditions were to be in violation, they could be subject to revocation of the specific use permit. Mayor, I left out a lot of detail regarding the business operations of the Dave & Buster's. There's a very, very detailed presentation that Ms. Warren with Dave & Buster's will begin for us.
Thank you. Consider the first and final reading of ordinance number 2029, amending chapter 86 of our utilities, article 3, on water and sanitary systems. What's your pleasure, Council?
Mayor, I would move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Staniford and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hodge to approve the first and final reading of ordinance number 2029. This particular ordinance, again, has to be approved by the city every 5 years. Mr. Craner has done all the work ahead of time. We just need to approve it so it's up to date and can be sent to everybody that needs it, correct? Thank you, Mr. Craner. So, any questions? Yes.
Mayor, if we'd be okay if Mr. Craner actually gave us a quick overview of what it really is. Is that okay, Mayor?
That's all right.
Thank you.
As the mayor said, this is required by TCEQ to be updated every 5 years, and first was done in '09. Basic changes that are involved in the draft plan are the termination clauses when you go from stage 1, 2, or 3. That's basically the biggest change that we've had. Plus, we reduced the fine for somebody that violates the policy from $1,000 to $500. Other than that, there's basically no change from the plan that was currently in effect.
Thank you, Mr. Craner. Other questions? If not, then cast your vote. Ordinance number 2029 has been approved. This time we have a request from Mr. Darrell Easton to address the City Council. Mr. Easton, would you come forward?
Darrell Easton, 1005 Fayette Drive. That is my residence. It's been my residence for 20 years. There was speculation 2 weeks ago about some rat and raving about some guy going to Grapevine and meeting a woman up there and getting married and all that kind of stuff. Most of that was very far-fetched. I can tell you that right now. I want to know from the secretary if there's been any other complaints about my residency since the ones from Ron Slater back here. George Moore's not here. What the implications of, is it Dr. Warren Wilson? Anyway, I've served 22 years in the Air Force. I've served in hazardous duty areas. My time in El Salvador included a rocket-propelled grenade coming through my house where they had me staying. I slept in that house. It was never my residency, never my residency. My house that I have now on Fayette Drive is definitely my house. I bought it. I bought it in 1994 as a single man. I've stayed there. I've worked at Atlantic Southeast Airlines. I traveled a lot. I got hired on with United Airlines. I could have easily moved to Denver, where I was transferred and worked out of, but I commuted to work. I was gone from home more than I was there, but I still knew every neighbor in the neighborhood. Bonnie Boyd on one side, Roger and Liz Shellhorn on the other, Betty Talents across the street. They've all been there since I located there. I know James Ashby on Industrial or on Harwood, David McCann on Crane, Don Upchurch on Fannin. I think I know my neighborhood pretty well. They are my neighbors in the area. I stay in contact with them on a regular basis. Now, I met a lady in '06. She had a house in Bedford. I had my house in Euless. We had separate, distinct ownership of each. We have never combined our resources in each. I cannot become a resident of Bedford because I don't own the property over there, and I really don't have a lease on the property over there. That's one of the criteria is to become a resident. I cannot be a resident of Bedford. Not only I can't, but I don't want to. This house right here in Euless is my residence. I'm the sole owner. It goes to my children. If I pass away, her house goes to her children, her child, and family. If she passes away, she could change the locks on me tomorrow, and I would have no legal recourse into that house. This house right here on Fayette Drive is the only one I have a key to. And I have uninhibited access to that house no matter what time of day it is. I think that establishes my residency right here in Euless. I could sleep anywhere I want. I could grab a sleeping bag and go to the park, a legal park, and sleep there. There's no requirement to even stay in that house as long as it's your residence. There's a freedom, there's a right to freedom to move from one place to another. If this country gets to the point where you gotta spend X number of nights in a particular house to call it your residence, we are in deep, deep trouble. I can guarantee you that. If I want to pack up tomorrow and go visit my folks in Ohio, I can stay up there 5, 6 months in a row. This still remains my residence right here. If you have any proof otherwise in the law, I would like you to present it. This is a two-way discussion because I'm on the agenda. Mr. Bynum, do you have anything regarding that? Mayor Sala, I've heard that you said I live in Bedford. Well, I knocked on the door. And they said, well, you live in Bedford. I said, who told you that? They went on to explain it. I explained my situation. I have a yard sign in my yard right now. I explained it to them, and they agreed fully. The city secretary has ruled the evidence presided by the people was not sufficient. He ruled me not a resident of Euless. So I stand by my convictions. I stand by the application I filled out. And I think it's her hearsay to say anything else. My cars are all registered at that address. I've got a stack of mail that I picked up. Some of it came yesterday, but I was there yesterday, didn't feel like opening it up because I had so many other things to do. This is all addressed to me at 1005 Fayette Drive. All the bills from the city, the electric company, the gas company, are all in my name at my address. That's criteria for establishing residency. And to say anything otherwise is I think, almost slanderous on my character. Now, will the city secretary state if there's any other complaints on my residency? And you stand by the ruling that you provided in your letter? Okay.
Mr. Easton, I will only repeat my comment from last night. What may be legal is not necessarily morally and ethically right.
Well, that's an interesting comment.
Same one I made last night.
Well, that's very good.
Mr. Easton, I'll also respond. I believe that under current Texas law, you have the right to run for mayor. I also believe home is where the heart is, and your home is with your wife in Bedford.
Well,
But you have the legal right to run for mayor.
well, we intentionally set it up differently, sir. And that was our right to do so.
I just said that's what I believe.
Well, thank you. Mayor Sala, do you have any issues?
I choose not to respond.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Easton.
Ms. Mayor, is it appropriate to make a comment?
In just a minute, I'm going to close as he was on the agenda, so he had the chance to come up and speak and we could respond. Our next item is a time for public comments, and yes, sir, you may come forward and speak. We will not be able to respond to you as a city council. as the attorney will affirm, but we can listen to you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Would you come to the podium?
I think everybody can hear me
Would you give
right
us your
here.
name and your address then?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
Dennis Bassett, 804 Peterstone Drive, Euless, Texas.
thank you.
I was at the meeting last night hosted by Texas Women Voters for all the candidates to answer questions. And I submitted 2 questions. And at the end of the meeting, for the people that were not there, the chairwoman made a comment saying there were no more questions, and so she let all the candidates do their finishing speech. It startled me because I had submitted 2 questions, and I thought those questions were missing. So I stood up, very unpolite like I did tonight, and asked the chairwoman about it, and she said, well, we had additional questions, but we decided to not ask those. And so afterward, I discussed that with her. I rather she would have told the audience we have additional questions, but it's our meeting, and we decided to censor those questions. But one of my questions was, for all the candidates, what is your full home address listed on your federal IRS income tax return for 2013? That was censored because I guess the chairwoman made a comment that it was too personal, that it was directed to all the candidates. And so I spoke with Mr. Easton about that after the meeting and asked him that question, because for me, that was important. And he answered to me that on his federal tax return for 2013, it's listed as 1005 Bayou Drive, Euless, Texas. So I think for me, the chairwoman did not do Mr. Easton any favors for censoring that question. Because for me, it was important what address he used for his tax return. I think everybody has an opinion on where the home is and where he gets his mail and so forth. But I believe the audience and the council needs to know that certain questions were censored last night. It was a very, very good meeting. But on that particular issue, I think everybody knows who I'm supporting. But I believe that if Mr. Easton gets his mail there and he files his income tax with that address, I think that needs to be considered on where his residency is. And there is a question about what is legal and what's morally correct. So I think it's up to the voters. It needs to be transparent. That information did not come out last night. That's why I'm speaking up so nervously. And I appreciate your time when I'm about to shut up. Because I think it's important that people have all the facts. Not leaning this way or leaning that way. Because obviously who I'm supporting, that Mr. Easton has a voice. And for me, it changed the game on that particular issue. And the audience needs to know where he gets his mail and where he files his income tax. And then the voters will decide. That's what this is about. To me, this is what's democracy. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? Yes. Name and address, please.
John Schluter, 211 Buckingham Avenue. I also attended the Euless. Yes, works. Yes, I'm not commuting. I also attended last night's forum, and I must say that I was listening to the debate of the words residency and home and some of the technicalities involved. And I started to remember back to the Clinton impeachment trials and debating the word "the." I found it similar in nature, that you think you know what a word means, and then lawyers and politicians get involved. And no offense, Mr. City Attorney, you get confused very quickly. I was reminded by someone of a case over in Halton City where an individual did not live or nor owned any property in Halton City. The judge said he could run as a candidate out of Halton City. And I think we're all well aware that you can can rent a hotel room in Houston and run for president from Texas. So the question, we have many cases in our area of questionable people moving into an area, out of an area, and it is really for a judge to decide. And I think basically if I saved my receipt from Taco Bell in Euless, I would probably run for office legally. I could see why people get confused about Mr. Easton's residency or where his home is. His neighbors have said he lives in Bedford. His family, as a matter of public record, has said he and his wife live in Bedford. And last night, and I quote Mr. Easton, "I would have moved to Euless if it had been feasible." Basically saying he doesn't live in Euless. So I can see why people got consulted. What I'm saying is I agree with the sentiment that the voters will decide if there's a legal issue. It's up to the campaign to raise it legally. One point that I would like to make, and it's something that's disturbed me that has been brought up, is Mr. Easton could not be more incorrect about someone being a resident. It's got nothing to do with property ownership. There are renters, there are tenants, there are 30-year-old young children or parents living in a spare bedroom who are all residents of our city. Okay? They all can register to vote here. Business owners and property owners have no superior rights over renters and other tenants. There is this underlying pervasive attitude among some people that as a business owner or as a property owner, that you have some superior rights. And I like to think that I work with a lot of people who would vehemently disagree with that. I think we all need to take a moment and remember back to our senior year in high school, in our civics class, at least for those of us that had a senior year in high school, and say that we live in a representative democracy. It's one vote per person, and any two people, as long as they are legal, law-abiding citizens of our community, any two people have more voting power and political power than any business owner or property owner in any city.
Thank you, Mrs. Slater. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? If not, we'll go on to the next phase of the meeting, and I'll ask if we have a report from our city attorney. Thank you. How about our city manager?
Oh, ma'am.
Not our city manager. Any council reports?
Mayor, I would like, ladies first. Mayor, I would just like to point out that in all probability, this will be Councilmember Hogg's and Mayor Sal's last official council meeting. I'll talk about Leon just a bit first. Leon has dedicated years and years of public service. I believe it's over 40 years between the parks board and serving on council, on softball involvement. 42. I knew it was over 40 years. And I think we need to show our appreciation for Leon and all of the service that he's given to this city. And next, I'd like to comment on Mayor Sala. I can't imagine living in Euless and calling anybody else mayor except Mayor Mary Liz Sala. She's a legend. Her fingerprint is on everything in this community as we look around. She's just an awesome lady, the greatest ambassador that Euless could have ever, ever, ever asked for. She'll stay here. We'll make sure she stays active in our community. Even if she tries to pull away, we are not going to allow it because she's way too valuable to all of us. Mary Liv also served on council for 3 years prior to being elected mayor, and she served as mayor for 21 years, 21 years. And as I pointed out last night, it's kind of hard to believe. One of the reasons this election is so important, since 1975, this will only be the third mayor the city of Euless has ever elected, since 1975 elected. So thank you, Mayor. We love you.
be around somewhere. Maybe out in the garden, or maybe cleaning the closet, or maybe doing some stuff at the church. Stuff like that.
Mayor, you're not getting away yet.
Not getting like that.
I was next to speak.
Oh, will you?
You get the last word.
Okay, last word, Mr. Stone.
I've had the good fortune of being up here, first with Leon to my left, especially when I first started, and anyhow I started doing things wrong. You always see him writing over here. That's him writing notes to me saying, and he's been a great value to me, and hopefully I'll be able to help out whoever takes his place by using this notepad over here and sliding things this way. As far as Mary Liz, she reminds me a lot of my mother. My mother was a great lady, always could be very, very firm, but always a great lady. She also tried to get me to eat weird vegetables, just like Mary Liz does. She had no better luck at it than Mary Liz. I feel very fortunate to have served with Mary Liz, but more importantly, I feel very fortunate to call both Mary Liz and Leon friends.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to talk to him too?
You know, I always do.
Okay, Mr. Biden.
Well, I'm the, as y'all remind me all the time, I'm the pup up here. So
You remind us.
that's right. I look back on my life here in this city, and in this building I played basketball. In this building, I was here the first day it opened as a young 7-year-old young man. And in that time, City of Euless has changed a lot. Main Street goes past the creek now. Harwood Junior High is there now. Yeah, so many things that's occurred. The Estevo Airport is built and expanding as we've heard tonight, some great things. Airport Freeway is being built. I played in the dirt on Airport Freeway is being built. And I reflect on some things that you and Mr. Hogg have done. And to think that this city has came so far with some visionaries. And I challenge those who may try to replace the two of you to do 1/10 of what y'all have done in their careers, sitting on this council. So, Mayor, Mr. Hogg, I appreciate everything you've done as a young man and now as a father and a grandfather. Well, not quite, not as a great-grandfather, not quite. But, you know, I have a lady in the audience, my wife, she appreciates you too. And there's some other men in this audience that know me back when I was a kid too. And they appreciate what both of y'all have done. And so I just want to say thank you.
Anyone else like to speak before we just finish this meeting tonight? Okay. Well, before I go any further, maybe I ought to do this first, and then I've got one last thing to say. Let me remind all of you all that the City of Euless will hold a general election on May the 10th, 2014. The following candidates in ballot order will be included on the ballot, and I would ask each candidate present to please stand when I call your name. For Mayor, Tim St. Clair. I guess he's not here. Linda Lip Martin. Darrell Easton. Place 2, Jeremy Thompson. Gary Jones. Place 4, Linda Allenfelt, running unopposed. We have a special election in Mr. Eddie Price. Mr. Price has filed for a place on the ballot in the special election that was to be held on the same day. However, with no opposition, the special election has been canceled. Eddie Price's name will appear on the ballot under the heading Unopposed Candidate Declared Elected. Early voting will start on Monday, April the 28th and run through Tuesday, May the 6th. The full schedule will be posted on the city's website and will be available from the city secretary's office. Should you have any questions, please call the city secretary. And now let me just say this. As I came to sit down on the council bench tonight, my city manager leaned over and said, "What happened? The whole Methodist church is here." So welcome the whole Methodist church. Along with that, I'd like to introduce my daughter-in-law, Carolina Sawa, and my granddaughter, Debbie. There's no further business. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.